Okay, so let's get started. There she is. We'll get started in a seated position on your mat. And you can be cross-legged, you can be sitting on your ankles, you can just be wherever is most comfortable for you right now. And just take a moment to check in with your body and how it's doing today. And you can take a few moments to just kind of move how you want to move, maybe do some side body bends, some cat-cows, some circles, some neck rolls, and start to activate your breath. Just use this as some time to check in and to see how you're doing. And whenever you feel ready to do so, you can just come to a position of stillness and just start to feel your tailbone rooting straight down into your mat. Feel the crown of your head reaching straight up toward the ceiling. Feel broadness across your collarbones as you let your shoulders drop down away from the ears. And start to relax all the muscles in your face, letting your jaw hang heavy, letting your forehead widen and deepen, and just letting your eyes be gently closed for the next few moments. As you just start to feel that your head is over your heart, just over your hips, and fully surrendering everything that is making contact with the floor beneath you, surrendering that into the floor, and at the same time feeling a sense of lightness in your head and shoulders and heart. So this combination of feeling heavy and supported and feeling light and lifted. As you just start to turn some focus now to your breath. Just notice how your breath is resting naturally today. Notice where it is traveling. Maybe it's going more into the head and it's more shallow. Maybe going more into the chest. And just welcoming that breath to enter deep into your body. So you open up your belly, your lower belly, as you inhale, and just allowing this breath to flood all the way from the head, through the heart, into the stomach, and coming back out on the exhale. So just letting your breath be intentional and deep and cleansing. You can even start to imagine welcoming in this fresh, clean air as you breathe in and letting anything that feels heavy or like it no longer serves you leaving your body on the exhale. Just this natural filter that is your breath. And you can begin to activate your Ujjayi breath if you would like to. And this is an audible inhale and exhale through the nose. So it's breathing as if you were fogging up a mirror, but with your mouth closed. And this breath will help to contain some energy within you for our practice and be your anchor. So if you ever find the mind wandering, you can let yourself come back to the breath. So as you're starting to feel ready, you can begin to slowly open your eyes as you sweep your hands out to the side and up, really slowly, and feeling this length in your side body starting to grow. So notice what happens to the spine when you do this. You might have the tendency to arch your back and maybe sacrificing the lower back. So see if you can keep your spine the same as it was when we were sitting and just keeping that tailbone tucked and lengthen your lower back. And then doing your best to bring your biceps up alongside the ears. And you might notice but that will shift the spine. So maybe opening up the bottom ribs, that happens to me. So as you bring the biceps along the ears, you can tuck the ribs back under and keep that length. You can start to move your wrists, maybe do some circles, and keep this intuitive movement as when we first sat down. So not worrying too much about the exact movements that your wrists or fingers are doing, but just feeling into, or just letting your hands and wrists move however they want to move. Maybe opening and closing the palms and stretching out the fingers, getting them wide. Doing your best to keep breathing steadily and keeping your spine straight. Awesome. So now we'll get to reach up once more, and then on your next exhale, we'll drop down the right hand right alongside the hip and just start to reach over to the right. You can do your best to keep length in the spine here and really reach toward the upper corner of the room so that there is still length in the right side of your body as well. You're not crunching down too much into that quite yet, but just feeling the space exaggerate between your left hip and the left fingertips. And as you inhale, let this spine get longer, let your neck get longer, let your arm get longer. And as you exhale, just reach over a tiny bit more. Awesome. So now this time, as you inhale, start to turn your heart to face up toward the ceiling, just slightly. And as you exhale, turn your heart to face down toward the ground. So we'll do this about 5 times with your 5 rounds of breath. So you can move quickly here, you can move really slowly here. I encourage you to move just a tiny bit slower than your first instinct might be to move, just so that you can really start to train yourself to feel all the little components of your body as it moves, all the things that come into play in your movement. And if you find a place that feels extra good or like it needs some more attention, you can feel free to stay there and breathe deeper. And remembering to keep both of your sit bones grounded as you do this as well. And whenever you are done with your last round of breath, you can meet back in the center. So you're just head is facing forward, bending over to the right. And then we're just going to let your right ear fall towards your right shoulder. And then reach over to the left side of your mat with your left hand. Nice. So then you're feeling the space between your left fingertips and your left ear. Yeah, perfect. So just letting your head be heavy, letting your arm reach. And then just keep reaching this arm and then bringing the torso back into center. And then letting the head come up on its own. Awesome. So you can switch the crossing of your legs. So you get a little bit difference in the hips. And when you're ready, we'll do all of that on the other side. You can go ahead and inhale, reach both arms up, get nice and long. And then exhale, the left arm comes down and you start to lean over to the left. So doing the same thing on this side, just really feeling the right sit bone staying rooted, reaching through the right fingertips, feeling the space from the right hip through the fingertips, keeping the neck and spine long. Breathing. As you inhale, the spine gets a little bit longer. As you exhale, you reach a little bit further. And then when you're ready, you can start to move the heart in those directions as well. So as you inhale, the heart faces up toward the ceiling just slightly. And as you exhale, the heart turns toward the floor slightly. And just letting your breath guide the pace of this movement. And for about 5 rounds, you can just do it till you feel even on both sides. I'm just noticing the difference between both sides as you do this as well. Odds are one side will feel a little bit different, maybe a lot a bit different. Noticing where the stretch is concentrated. You might feel this more across your abdomen. You might feel it more across your back, maybe across your shoulder or neck. There's no wrong or right way or place to feel this. So just noticing where it is in your body today. And then whenever you feel complete with these movements, you can just reach back over to the left again. And then this time we're just going to let our left ear drop toward the left shoulder as you reach across with the right arm. So the right arm reaches over to the right, and you're just feeling the heaviness of your head, just fully releasing the head and feeling the space between the right fingertips and the right ear. And just letting the weight of your head and the reach of your right arm do the work here. And stay breathing. Awesome. And then real slowly, you can just start to press into the ground with the left hand, reach more with the right as you come back up to center, and bring the head back to center and pause. And just take a moment to check in. Notice how all that felt. And then when you are ready, you can press your hands in front of your shins and roll over the ankles, and we'll come into our tabletop position, or just however you want to get to tabletop. You can kick the legs back behind you. And we'll meet with our shoulders over wrists and hips over knees. And just when you look back between your legs, just see that your toes are hidden behind the thighs. And spread your fingers so wide that you start to feel the skin in between the fingers stretching. So it's really an intentional grip on the floor. And then rooting down in the base of your hand and the base of your pinky, pointer, and thumb, and also the tips of each finger. So it's kind of like this suction-like grip against the floor. And the more intentional you are with your hands and fingers, the less pressure will be on your wrists. So if you have any wrist problems, really focusing on the hands will be helpful. But if at any point it feels too bad on the wrist to have this, you can always come onto the knuckles so that the wrist is straight. That can be a nice adjustment. And also seeing that the wrist creases are parallel to the front edge of your mat is helpful. Great. And then if you have any problems with the knees, you can be more intentional rooting down in the tops of the feet or tucking the toes under, rooting down in the toes. You can always place a blanket underneath the knees as well to be helpful for that. So you can start to just move freely here whenever you're ready. And kind of the same thing we did when we first sat down, just not thinking too much about the movement, just keeping your foundation strong and steady as what we just set up, and letting everything else kind of move around that. And just tuning into your spine, into your neck, into all of your joints, and just letting your body move freely. You could do cat-cows where you let your heart and belly come down. You feel your heart kind of reaching through your upper arms, and your tailbone reaches up, your chin reaches away from the sternum into your cow pose. And then your cat pose is tucking the chin toward the chest, tucking the tailbone down and in, lifting the belly toward the spine, lifting the back of the heart, pressing the floor away. And just any combination of that. You can also wag your tail, looking back toward either hip, getting into the side bodies a bit more. And if you want to create some rotations, you can take turns bending one elbow, looking over the opposite shoulder, and then coming back to center, bending the other elbow, looking over the other shoulder. And just getting into the 6 ways that your spine moves. We can arch it and curl it like in our cat-cows. We can do the side bodies like when we wag our tail, and you can rotate it like when you look over the opposite shoulder. Just checking in with these 6 degrees of movement and noticing how it all feels for you right now. Spending a little bit more time in the places that feel extra good today, knowing that this will change all the time. Okay. So about 5 more breaths, moving freely, how you'd like to. And then whenever you feel ready to do so, you can find your way back to your neutral tabletop, just with a straight line from the tailbone through the back of your neck and crown of the head. And then leaving your hips and knees exactly where they are, you can just walk your hands forward and melt your heart down to come into your puppy pose. Bring your forehead or chin to the mat or a block, and just breathing into the heart space. Letting the energy reach up through the space in between the sit bones. And letting the front of your heart be heavy, and letting the shoulder blades come together and down the back. Being intentional, placing the forearms and hands on the mat. And pressing down into the floor with the hands, and just breathing into wherever you're feeling this the most right now. 2 more exhales. Great. And then from here, you're just going to allow your hips to become heavier and let them be drawn down toward your heels. And this will pull you back into your child's pose. So you can keep your arms extended forward, keeping the length from the hips through the fingertips long. You can also stack your hands underneath the forehead as a little pillow. You can bring the arms back so that the palms are facing up alongside you, and more of an embryo pose. So whatever feels the most restorative to you right now. I'm just going to take the next few breaths to regroup. And shake your head no side to side to massage the forehead a bit. Let your breath slow down. Let your hips surrender here. Let your spine be nice and long. Maybe setting an intention for your practice today. If there's anything in your life that you'd like to enhance or need a little extra help with, just setting that intention in your body at this moment. Beautiful. And then no rush whatsoever. You can always stay in any pose longer or as long as your body needs to. But when you are ready, you can start to walk your hands forward and then just activate your child's pose. So pressing down into the hands and letting the arms lift. And then as if you could pull the floor towards your knees, using that sensation to bring yourself back up to the tabletop. And then you can tuck your toes under, lift the hips back and up to your downward facing dog. Beautiful. So first down dog of the day, you can leave your knees really bent and maybe come onto the tippy toes to stretch out the soles of the feet, and just keep the hips lifting back and up. The same way that we felt in puppy pose, where the energy is reaching up through the space in between the sit bones, reaching up there. And then the same way that the biceps were when we were sitting down and reaching up, keeping the biceps alongside the ears, that similar sensation as well. And then letting your heart reach toward your thighs, relaxing your neck, and maybe feeling like your armpits could almost face each other. And then keeping the hands and wrists the same setup as we had in tabletop, fingers spread wide and intentional. Just feeling your strength, and maybe taking turns straightening each leg, taking turns looking under each armpit, and just walking out your dog, starting to wake up the hamstrings, keeping your breath with you. Maybe finding a moment of stillness with both heels reaching toward the floor, the lower belly scooping in and up toward the lower back, breathing. And then very slowly, as you're ready, you can bend the knees, look up toward the top of your mat, and just tiptoe your legs up to meet your hands or your feet. And then when you land, you can inhale and lengthen your spine to a halfway lift. So it's a tabletop spine. And then exhale and forward fold. So bending your knees very generously, letting your head and torso fully relax and fold over the legs. You can grab opposite elbows. You can let them hang out on the floor. You can wrap them behind your legs. And just feeling that the weight on your feet is even from the inside to the outsides of the feet, and then slightly more on the balls of the feet. And the feet are about 2 fists distance between them. And then even though the legs are bent, still letting the energy reach up through the sit bones. And just feeling how long the back of your body is getting. So tracing the space with your mind from the heels through the backs of the legs, through the sit bones, through the lower back, middle, upper, the neck, and through the crown of the head. And just feeling how long the backside of your body is. And then very, very slowly, as you are ready to do so, you can begin to maybe walk the hands up the legs or just roll the body up to standing, one vertebra at a time, being gentle and slow. Head and shoulders last to come up, palms facing out, heart proud in your mountain pose. Just taking a moment to get situated in your mountain pose, lifting the toes for a moment to really feel the 4 corners of your feet actively pressing down to the mat, letting the toes grip back down, feeling your inner thighs pull in and up toward each other like you were squeezing a block between them, letting your tailbone tuck down and lower belly pull in, feeling your collarbones broad, your fingertips reaching toward the earth, and the space between the ears and shoulders growing. Feeling the back of the neck elongate. So you're reaching down into the earth through the soles of the feet just as much as you are reaching up through the crown of the head. And when you are ready, go ahead and inhale, sweep the arms out and up, maybe a slight back bend, turning the heart toward the ceiling. And as you exhale, we're going to swan dive all the way down to a forward fold, hinging at your hips, and then letting the legs bend, letting yourself fold. As you inhale, halfway lift, so feel yourself reaching out of your hips, spine long. And as you exhale, fold once more. Plant your hands down, and you'll step both feet back to a plank position. So feeling the heels reach back, crown of the head and the heart reaching forward, pulling the belly in and up, feeling the strength of your core and your arms. And then you can always bring the knees down and you need to, but just bending the elbows slowly alongside the ribs and lowering yourself in one piece down to your mat. As you inhale, come into your baby cobra, so reaching the heart forward and up, but keeping the neck long, so keeping your gaze just toward the top of the mat. As you exhale, you can release. And then you can bring yourself up through a tabletop again, so just pressing the ground away from you, bending the knees, then tucking the toes, lifting the hips to your downward facing dog. Beautiful. So that is one version of a vinyasa flow, and you can stick with that throughout the practice. We'll go through another version as well if you'd like, and there's always an option to skip the vinyasa flows. They just add a little bit of heat to the practice, so if you want a more restorative practice today, you can always just come right to your down dog or come right to your tabletop whenever I say to move through your flow. So when you're ready, you can bend the knees, look up and step up, landing in a halfway lift as you inhale, long spine. Exhale and fold. Inhale, root down to rise up, reach the arms out and up, reaching up, maybe a slight back bend. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a moment to breathe, feel the heart. And when you're ready, inhale to reach up. Exhale to swan dive and fold, leading with the heart. Inhale to halfway lift, lift you out of the hips. Exhale and fold once more. Plant both hands down and step back to your plank. And you can move through the same flow we did last time, or you can lower halfway to your Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale to your upward facing dog, and exhale to your downward facing dog. That is another version of a flow. If you would like to use it, you're welcome to. Again, this is your practice. You can get creative. If there's any other version of a flow I did not mention that you'd like to do instead, go ahead and do it. Listen to your body throughout this practice, and you can let my cues be suggestions. So as you're in your down dog, when you're ready, you can inhale, reach your right leg back and up, and just keeping your hips square to the floor for now, keeping the lower belly tight, letting this leg lift through the core, and just feel the space between your fingertips and the right heel or the right toes. That feels better. And just feeling this extra stretch down the left hamstring. And then when you're ready, you can pull your knee in toward the chest using a cat spine. Shift your shoulders over your wrist, and then place the foot toward the top of the mat. You can always use your right hand to help it there. Great. And we're just going to hang out for a moment in this lunge position. You can adjust your stance slightly. You can kind of point and flex your back foot. And you're just going to plant down your left hand and inhale your right arm out to the side and up into this twisted high lunge. And just make sure you're not dumping weight into your left shoulder and you're lifting up and out of that. And keeping your back leg intentional, keep reaching through the back heel. Keeping your right knee over the right ankle. Beautiful. So inhale to reach a little higher. And then exhale to release down, framing your front foot. You can let your back knee drop down, untuck your back toes, and then pretend that there's a string at your tailbone that's lifting you back and up, straightening out your front leg. Great. So we're going to focus on the right hamstring a little bit more here. So you can inhale to let your toes point up toward the ceiling, and then exhale to bring the sole of your foot down to the ground. So you can just feel this difference when your foot is flexed, how the stretch is focused on the back of the leg. And then when the sole of the foot's on the floor, it's a little more down the front of the leg. And you can keep your heart reaching toward your shin. And do your best to keep your spine straight here. If you have blocks, it can be nice too to kind of sit up a little taller. But rather than like curling at the spine, like we usually do like at the end of class in a more restorative way, letting this be a little bit more active. So keeping your spine straighter, keep hinging, perfect. Hinging at the hips. And yeah, just letting yourself move with your breath. Beautiful. Great. So one more round. And then the next time that your whole foot is back on the ground, you're going to rebend that leg. You're going to tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, and then pivot your back foot to be parallel to the back edge of your mat. And we're going to cartwheel the arms up to our warrior two. Perfect. So your front heel is either intersecting the back arch or in line with the back heel. Your front knee is reaching toward the pinky side of the foot. It's kind of like this rolling under sensation in the right hip. And then you're broad across the chest. The arms are reaching through the heart. If you want to turn your palms to face away from you, this also stretches the muscles around your heart. But you can also do kind of what we were doing with our foot, like you can inhale to have the palms face up and then the palms face towards you if you want to get into the wrists a bit more. And your gaze is just over the front fingertips. And feel that there's a tendency here that your back hip is kind of up like this. So you can I'm going to push it in so that your hips are underneath the shoulders. Perfect. Beautiful. Great. So when you're ready, you can flip your front palm to face up, and we'll inhale to reverse the warrior. So reach up first and then reach back. So you feel this length from the right hip crease through the right fingertips, keeping your legs the same. You can use your left hand to support you on your hip or down your back leg. Beautiful. And then you can inhale, come back to center. And then we'll slowly reach into the ground with your front foot, straightening out the front leg. Heel toe this back foot in just a touch. Reach forward with your right arm, and then just get this length here. And then when you can't reach forward anymore, you reach the right fingertips down and the left fingertips reach up. And just make sure to keep a micro bend in both your legs, but most importantly, your front leg. So you're not stacking too much pressure on your kneecap. And just noticing where you're feeling this the most in your body right now. Breathing. The goal of this is to get every limb as long as possible. So one more exhale. And then what we're going to do is cartwheel the hands down and turn your heart to frame your front foot. Both hands come down to frame your front foot. Lift your back heel up, plant both hands down, step your right foot back to meet your left in plank, and you'll move through your vinyasa, and we'll meet in a downward facing dog. And just letting out 3 big exhales when you arrive, maybe sighing it out, maybe sticking out the tongue, maybe fluttering the lips, just flushing out your system. And then when you're ready, we will move through that same sequence on the other side. So as you're ready, inhale your left leg back and up. And the same thing here. So just keeping this leg lifting through the core, keeping the hips square to the floor, reaching through the heel, keeping the heart reaching toward the thigh. And then using a cat spine to pull your knee in toward your chest, shift your shoulders over wrists, and bring the left foot to the top of your mat. Perfect. So you can take a moment to adjust your stance here in this high lunge, and maybe point and flex your back foot. And you can keep your right foot or your right hand pressing down into the mat. And then as you inhale, you can lift up your left arm and take this high lunge twist. So turning your heart toward the left. And just keep the energy reaching through your right heel. Keep lifting out of your right shoulder. Feel your navel pull into the spine and strengthen the twist a little bit more. Awesome. So one more breath here. Inhale to reach a little bit higher. And then exhale to come down. Frame your front foot. Let your back knee drop down. Untuck the toes. And then imagine that string at your tailbone, just lifting your seat back and up, letting that straighten out your front leg. Then we'll move through the same thing here. So if you have blocks or if you use them on the other side, you just want to keep your spine a little bit straighter than usual since this is a bit more active. And as you inhale, you can let your toes point up to the ceiling. And as you exhale, the sole of the foot comes to the floor. And just letting your breath guide the movement. And again, the slower that you move, the more little components you'll be able to notice. Just listening to your body and moving how it wants to move today. Okay, so one more round. Noticing how this hamstring feels compared to the last. And then the next time your whole foot is on the floor, you can leave it there. We will rebend the front leg, tuck your back toes, lift the back knee, and then pivot the back foot to be parallel to the back edge of the mat as you rise on up to your warrior two on the other side. Just getting yourself situated on this side. My rug is moving a lot today. This is why I never did it on the rug, I'm remembering. So just feeling the components of this side and letting your front heel either intersect the back arch or be in line with the back heel. Noticing if that back hip kind of wants to lift and be more of a slant. And just pressing it back in so that your hips are right underneath the shoulders. Your tailbone's reaching straight down, crown of the head's reaching straight up. Your heart is broad. Your hands are reaching from the heart. There's space between the shoulders and the ears. And that back leg is super straight and you're rooting down even in the outside edge of the back foot. And the front knee is reaching toward the pinky side of the foot. You can always lift the toes at any point to just really activate the four corners of the feet. And let the toes grip back down, be that extra support. And breathe. When you are ready, you can flip your front palm and inhale to reverse your warrior. So reach up first and then reach back. So just feeling the space between the left hip crease and the left fingertips. As you inhale, you can come on back to center. And what we'll do now is reach into the ground with your front foot to just straighten out that leg a bit. Heel toe your back foot in a touch, and we'll come into our triangle on this side. So your hips will start to shift back as you reach forward with your left arm as far as you possibly can, keeping both side bodies long. And then when you can't reach forward anymore, you can let the fingertips reach down as the right fingertips reach up. And the goal of this is just to have every limb be as long as possible. So including the neck, including the arms, the legs, and both side bodies. So feeling that length growing in the left side body as well. Breathing. Great, and then on your next exhale, you could start to turn your heart to the floor as you reach forward with the right arm, bringing both hands down to frame your front foot. And press both hands down, lift your back heel, and step back to your plank position. Move through any flow of your choice, and we will meet in our downward facing dog. Letting it go. When you're ready, you can bend the knees, look up, and step up. Inhaling to a halfway lift when you arrive. Exhale and release forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, reach all the way out and up. And exhale, hands to heart center. And pause. Just feeling your heartbeat, feeling your breath, feeling your body. And we'll start to slow down and get a bit deeper into the hips. So whenever you are ready to do so, you can reach both arms up as you inhale. Exhale, hinge at your hips and forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to release. What you're going to do now is just heel toe your feet so they come as wide as your mat. And you're just going to leave your right foot exactly where it is, or maybe walk it up a touch so that it's more in line with the hands. You're just going to step your left foot back so you're in a wide lunge. Yeah. So we're in lizard pose. So both of your hands are on the inside of your right foot. It's a similar pose to what we were just doing, but wider. And you can stay with this back leg lifted for a little bit or for the whole time if you want to keep this more active. But at any point, if you want to let your back knee drop down, you can do so. You can untuck the back toes and just really feel yourself releasing into this right hip. And there's a lot of versions of this pose, so I'll walk you through some options and you can just stay wherever feels the best. So this is the first option, or the first two options, back leg lifted or back knee down. And the back toes can be tucked or untucked, whatever feels best for your knee. And you can keep letting your hips be heavy and letting your heart reach up, kind of like in a Cobra pose. Or you can let the heart face more toward the ground. You're kind of more in like a push-up position. You can have blocks down and come down onto your forearms, or come onto the forearms onto the mat. And also, if you notice your right foot, if it might want to start lifting, like the inside of the foot, you can keep that foot lifted. So you're kind of like lifting the ball of the right foot away from the mat. And then turn your left forearm to be parallel to the front edge of your mat and bring your right hand to the inside of the right thigh and look over the right shoulder. This is a twisted lizard. It can be nice if you like, but not pushing yourself too much and just staying wherever your limit feels like it is today and breathing there. And that is how we build our limit, is by accepting what our limit is and finding some peace there. So just 3 more exhales wherever you are. Breathing into where you feel this the most. You might be feeling this a lot more in your left hip flexor, in the front of that left thigh. Maybe you're feeling this more in the back. Maybe you are feeling it more in the hip. Wherever it is, there's no right or wrong place. Just letting yourself breathe into wherever that is for you. 1 more exhale. Great. So now you can start to come forward if you were twisted at all. And the same thing, just pretending that there's a string pulling your sit bones back really slowly this time. And starting to straighten out your right leg. Great. And then we're just going to heel toe our right foot over. And I'm just going to keep heel toeing it over till it's all the way on the left side of your mat. And we're going to come into our pigeon pose. So you can bring your hands down and bring your right knee so it's behind the right wrist. And the top of the right foot is on the left side of the mat. And just take a peek back, make sure that your left leg stays in line with the left hip. And you can stay lifted if you'd like. You can stay like this, is totally fine. But if you want to come to lay down, you can walk the hands forward and down so that you keep the spine nice and long. If your right hip is super lifted off the mat and it's bothersome to you, you can always place a blanket or pillow underneath that space to just give you that. But if it's not bothersome, it's not a problem. And just doing your best to surrender to this pose. Wherever you happen to be in it, relaxing your jaw, relaxing your tongue, relaxing your forehead and your eyes, softening in the shoulders, and softening the hips really fully. And you'll notice that there will be probably waves of resistance popping up. And just letting yourself lean into that each time it comes up. So when you start to feel like the muscles in your hips are kind of coming closer together and not wanting to be in this pose or not wanting to fully relax into the pose, just noticing all the energy that is being used to tighten and to resist. And see if you can use that exact same energy to flip and spread the muscles. Instead of bringing them together, see if you can use it to bring them apart, to exhale and to surrender, knowing that this is temporary. And just letting yourself be exactly where you're at for the next 3 exhales of your life. Continuing to soften the shoulders, the toes, and the hands. And then whenever you feel ready, and as always, if you want to stay longer, you're welcome to do so. You can start to come onto the forearms, onto the hands, and just really, really slowly make your way out of this, being so gentle. And tuck your back toes under, and you just kind of scooch that knee in. And then you can really, really, really slowly unwind yourself, come into a table, maybe a 3-legged table, and just shake out that leg. You can always bring both knees down to table and kind of shift the hips side to side. That can feel really nice. Come into child's pose, whatever you want to do to reset before we move through that same sequence on the other side. So again, no rush whatsoever, but when you are ready, you can allow your left foot to come outside of the left hand, that left edge of the mat. You can tuck your back toes under and lift your back knee to just get that right distance between the feet. So you're in that lifted wide lunge, once again, lizard lunge. And then whenever you're ready, you can start to come into your fuller expression of the pose. You can let your back knee drop down, and untuck the toes. Wherever you ended up on the other side, letting yourself slowly unfold into that, but also not forcing yourself to be in the exact same place as you were on the other side. This side might feel a lot different, maybe a lot tighter, or maybe a lot looser. So just exploring this side as something new and not forcing yourself or your body into any positions that it's not ready to be in right now. Remembering that this is your practice. So just breathing into the places that are the loudest and maybe coming onto the forearms at some point, maybe coming into that twisted version of the pose if you did that on the other side. But as you are ready, letting yourself breathe deeply. And just 2 more exhales wherever you are. Great. And then if you were twisted or on the forearms, you can start to come back onto the hands. Bring both the foot back to the floor and just shift your weight toward the back leg, straightening out your front leg. And then we'll heel toe it over to get into pigeon pose. Where is, you can just stay where you were, Mom. I think you were already in pigeon. or you can do lizard now if you want. But yeah, so then the top of the left foot comes to the right side of the mat, and the left knee is behind the left wrist. The right foot is in line with the right knee. And again, just letting yourself unfold as your body's ready to on this side, keeping that spine long, keeping the body heavy. And just using this as an opportunity to scan your body and really just check in with each part, starting with the parts that are the loudest and the most active in this pose. So maybe tuning into the hips, into the left hip, and as you breathe in, you can envision your breath traveling to your left hip. And as you breathe out, you can envision your breath spreading and dispersing throughout the hip and softening these muscles just a tiny bit more. And just letting your jaw be completely heavy, letting all the muscles in your face almost feel like they're hanging off of the bones. And just a full sense of release and softness in every muscle. And just allowing your body to surrender to the weight of gravity, surrender closer to the floor. And allowing anything that comes up for you to come up. Any emotions that are begging for release, just allowing them to be released in whatever form they come. About 5 more exhales right where you are. And then no rush whatsoever. Of course, if you want to stay longer, feel free. But whenever you are ready, you can start to slowly peel yourself out of this pose, coming onto the hands, heel toeing your right knee in a touch, and coming back into a table, maybe a 3-legged table, and just shake out that leg. Ooh. Great. And you can do anything you need to reset, maybe coming back and doing some cat-cows or letting the hips fall from side to side. Maybe just sitting back on the heels, sitting back in child's pose. Just listening to whatever your body needs at this exact moment. Just releasing yourself for 3 more exhales. And if you want to stay longer wherever you are, again, let yourself do so. But when you are ready, you can come up to a seat on your heels. And just going to let your hips fall over to the right side of your mat and then, or right side of your heels, and then bring both your hands over to the left. Just pause for this moment, and it's a nice stretch down the back right side of the body. Then you can shift yourself to the center and go to the other side. Let the hips fall to the left side, and the hands come over to the right. And you can just stay with the hips over here and lean over to the left and bring the legs out in front of you. Perfect. So come to a seat. You can just shake out the legs, maybe pat them down. You can grab your sock or sweater if you want, because we're really gonna almost done. So anything you want to feel comfy and warm in your Shavasana, you can grab now. Great. So just letting yourself get settled and yeah, take some turns like patting down the hips. We did a lot of stuff on the hips today. Maybe patting down the stomach, the shoulders. And what this does, it just brings blood to the surface of the muscles and the skin and just gives you a little extra help in healing from these poses or healing with these poses. So you can bring the soles of your feet to the ground and just grab the backs of your thighs and you can slowly lower yourself down to lay on your back. When you arrive, you can let the soles of your feet come as wide as your mat and just windshield wiper the knees back and forth. So just letting the weight of your body release to the mat, massaging your glutes, releasing your lower back. You can pull the knees into the chest and do the same sort of thing, just rocking side to side and letting the weight of your body shifting against the mat be your little massage. And when you're ready, you can let both of your knees just fall over to the left side of you, coming into a brief reclined twist, just getting into the spine a bit more and looking over the right shoulder and just fully softening the belly. And just wringing out the spine and the organs. Surrendering here. 2 more exhales. And then let your head come to center, the knees come to center. And go ahead and switch sides, both knees falling to the right, gaze coming off to the left. Letting the belly be soft. Letting the face be soft. And 2 more exhales. And then when you're ready, you can turn the head to center, the knees to center, and can reach both your legs up to the ceiling and just shake them out, fully release the muscles. Reach the arms up, shake them out, release the muscles, and just allow all of your limbs to rest in their sockets. Just letting your legs rest in the hip sockets, letting the arms rest in the shoulder sockets. Fully releasing the muscles in the feet, and the toes, and the hands, and the fingers. And just giving the feet and hands their well-deserved break. Just letting all the blood rush away from them. All the blood coming into your torso. As you let the 4 corners of your torso be pinned against the mat just by the weight of your limbs and gravity. You feel all the blood rushing to the backside of the body, letting all the organs settle into their rightful places. Just letting all the healing benefits of the poses we did today soak in. And just letting the hands and feet grow a little bit numb and tingly with this change in blood flow. And when you're ready, from here, you can come into your happy baby if you would like. Grab the outsides of the feet and let the hips open up toward the ceiling. You can also grab the outsides of the thighs. Just letting the knees reach toward the armpits and the hips open up to the ceiling. Maybe taking turns straightening each leg, rocking side to side, or finding some stillness, whatever feels best. And if there's anything else you would like to do today to make your practice feel complete, you can go ahead and do so. And whenever you are ready, And come into your final resting pose, your Shavasana. And just let your legs reach long on your mat, the toes falling off to the sides. Let your palms face up and away from the body, so all your limbs are separated, and feel yourself resting in this star shape, this 5-pointed star with both legs, both arms, and your head. And just letting your brain rest toward the back of the skull, letting the eyelids be heavy, and the eyeballs resting down into their sockets. Letting your jaw release fully, and turning your inner gaze to peer into the forehead. And just noticing anything that you feel here or anything you might see, even if it's just darkness. Maybe a slight pulsing sensation. And letting your shoulders be heavy, your arms, and just feeling the rhythm of your heartbeat and the rhythm of your heartbeat in your hands as well. As you just remember the pulse that is running through your whole body, softening the ribs, softening the abdomen, the hips and the glutes, softening all the muscles down the legs, just letting them roll off of the bones. As you feel the heartbeat in your feet and toes as well. And just allowing yourself to rest in this total body awareness for about another minute in silence. And of course, if you would like to stay longer, please let yourself do so. And if you're beginning to feel ready to make your way out of this final pose slowly, you can just let my cues guide you. So beginning by just noticing your breath and how slow it's become. And the act of noticing it will automatically deepen it. And just calling air back into the body, deepening it even more. And letting yourself fill up with this new air to the toes, to the fingers, to the head. Letting that wiggle your fingers and toes a bit, maybe rocking the head side to side. If you'd like to reach the arms overhead and take a big morning stretch, you can do so. And then just bringing the knees toward the chest and rolling to a fetal position on one side. Just taking a moment to honor this pose. And as you're ready, pushing yourself up to your seat and meeting with hands at heart center when you arrive. And taking this moment to fully thank yourself for showing up today, for taking the time out of your busy life for this pure act of self-love and self-care. May this act continue to heal you through the rest of your days and nights. And may you bring the same love into everything you do and to everyone that you see. Namaste.